Thank you. Again, Corian. There's several different products on the market, all similar. It's solid surface countertop material. The Corian is the one that turns the easiest. This stuff is brutal to turn, but it comes out really pretty. If you saw that bowl there, this is part of that. This was going to be, except I knocked this off because it was so big. Again, because I'm trying to put this on, and this is moving around, I'm trying to line it up on my center, and this is, nothing's going right. By the time I did, I think the glue's half dry, and it didn't seat itself right. So I just used the chisel and I popped these two off, and I kept that bowl. But it's good for, it threads really nice. You can make nice boxes out of it. Pens, it does really great with pens. He's one of the guys in Rumford, that's all he does is Corian pens. It comes in probably 50 different colors, and they blend really nice, as you can see. You can't tell. So that's a little bit about Corian. I can do this. It's all scrap. So this is out of left over from a big circle, and this is pretty much what I had. And the only thing I had to do was take these two pieces. I take a little clamp and hold it together. Then I make sure I go down and I sand this down nice, so I know these are both nice and plain. And then I come across here, like so. And I can just come back here with this here, a little soft clamps. Then you can open this up. I have this clamped on my table. I have this one on my table, I open this one up, I drop a little bit of glue in there, and then I just go back and push it tight and then hold it for a couple seconds, and then I take a little bit of that spray and spray it, and then I know it's nice and hard. And I do the same thing for this side, and then what I'll end up doing, and I use wax paper. I'll put a piece of wax paper underneath here, so when that glue goes down through, it's not stuck to my whatever. It's going to be just the wax paper, and pretty much it's going to come right off. So it's a nice thing to use, the wax paper, if you don't want to stick to your bench or whatever it is you're using. And again,
What kind of glue do you use?
CA. Yeah, this is medium viscosity, CA. And I use the little accelerator. It just speeds up the drying time. It's going to dry with or without it, but this helps it a little bit. This is a glue. I haven't used this yet, but DuPont makes it, and you know every company that makes the solid surface makes their own glue, and they'll make their glue to match whatever color. So if they got 50 different colors of surface, they'll have 50 different colors of glue. But this is a neutral glue, so you can actually use this glue on pretty much everything. And it takes about 20 minutes for this to set up. Versus a couple seconds for that CA glue to set up, so I got more time with this here. But this, I was told, is the glue joint is 80% as strong as the surface itself. So that's pretty good. I'm not sure how strong this CA is. I know it's brittle, and that's why you can pop it apart like this here, even though the joint was bad. But I just know that CA glue is brittle, and if you hit it just the right way, it will pop.
Roland?
Is it a two-party proxy?
This?
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what it is.
Mixing one.
Yes, this is a two-part. This is, so it's a 25 to 1. They have a gun, a corking gun, that's made for this. So you can, so just get the right amount coming out every time, or you can just push out a little puddle here, a little puddle there, mix the two up, and work it that way. And
So the nozzle is shot every time you make a hole, right?
no, this isn't shot. Actually, this would be my glue, and that's soft. This is the hardener, and I can just take this, because if I want to use this now, I'll just, without using the nozzle, I'm just going to press the two out. You know, so I'll press a puddle here.
So you're not using the mixing nozzle? You're not using the mixing nozzle?
No, they use this nozzle because they got a 30-foot countertop they try to glue off. So they, I just want a little puddle.
Yeah, okay.
You know, so I can take a drill and get rid of this hot, because this is hot right now, it's right there, but you just drill it through, clean it out, and work it that way.
Can you rip that Corian down on your table saw?
Yes. It cuts on the table saw, cuts on the bandsaw. It cuts nice on either one.
Is it rough on the blade?
No. It's pretty much plastic.
Use like jigsaws and stuff on job sites, right?
It's, what's that?
Use like, you gotta say, use metal bit, fine tooth jigsaws and stuff on the job site for cutting the sinks and things like that.
Oh, router bit is what they use. They use the router bit with the template, and then that sink drops out. Is how they do that.
And on the table saw, regular table saw blade, or you could use
Yeah.
like a piano?
No, this is just a regular table saw. My finish blade is what I use. What?
Like a medium tooth saw?
I don't even think it's that. I think it's more for ripping, a finished ripping blade. It's a general purpose blade I use. You know, so you don't have to, it's nothing special. It's soft material, so any kind of blade you want. You know, the better the blade, the cleaner you're gonna have for a cutting surface, which is if you're trying to glue something up, it's easier, so you're not wasting as much time seeing it and planing. It just makes it easier that way. And then, and any tool works nice. And what I will do now is I'll show you how I glue up on my glue block. Rubber gloves are nice because CA glue sticks to your skin. And if your skin is touching anything else, it'll be stuck to that too. I already faced this off, and I put a little cove here, so I'm not, because eventually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna glue this here, and after my bowl is done, I'm gonna take a potting tool and pot off the bottom of that. You know, so you don't need this whole thing to be glued to the base of this. So I probably got about an inch or so over here. So.
The hot glue would be good enough for all of that?
What's that?
Would the hot glue be good enough for all of that?
No, I wouldn't rely on hot glue. So put something over your bed, so you don't make a mess out of it. Then I've already got this centered, so I put this on my center. Bring it to the surface here, spin it, so my glue is going about. Give it a little clamp. Give it a spin. Take rid of my excess. Yeah, that's good. I got this stuff from Exotic Blanks. You guys who do pens? Exotic Blanks is, they've got a lot of pen material making, but then you can buy this in quantity, which is nice. So that's dry. The next step I do is I've got this copper tape of some sort, sticky on two sides. And what I end up doing is I'll put 4 pieces down, and what I'm trying to do is take this and step it off. Because if I super glue this, then it's really hard to get rid of this center. because what I want to wind up with is this piece. Because I got that sticky tape, I got it here, put it through, and I'm able to cut the donut out. And then, when I have that cut out, then it's just a matter of me coming back like so, and then I can glue that back up. And that's only on this piece. Every piece after that, because I'm going to show you how to do this, and then I'm going to go to my next piece. And that way we're not spinning something. Hitting the head. So, but that's pretty much what I do. You understand that part. I put my sticky tape here, put it here, take my potting tool, open it up, so I wind up with some. And then, so I know this is going to be like so. I come back here, clean it up a little bit, make sure it's so-so. Denatured alcohol. That surface down. This one down. This second one is where it's hard because I need to have my, I don't want to just put this there and hold it by hand. I need to have some sort of pressure, and that's where I end up with the next piece. Let's see. And you want to make sure everything is ready. This is just going to be that part. So, on this one, I want to put my glue on here. And because this is not my lathe, all this stuff is, when I lift this, it stays. So I can just slide this across, but this one here wants to drop down and it stays. So basically, I'm off, but a little bit don't matter. Give that little clamp. And then you do the same thing, hit that with that CA, with this stuff here. The inside a little squirt. That's done. And now I'm going to get rid of this. Swap it. And this is pretty much what I have right there. Except I know this is glued good, and so when I start spinning it, it's not going to fly.
Well, what chuck is that? Is that the Nova, is that the Supernova or?
No, this is a Vic mount. I think that little one is a Nova.
That's a Nova. What was that one?
Vic mount. Vic.
VIC?
Vic, yeah.
Walmart. Golf course.
And this is the one that pipes that way. Okay, and so what I do next is I end up cleaning up. And what I do now is I'm going to clean this edge to that blue surface, and then I'm going to leave this one high. Because once I stop, then I know I need to get down to there. And you guys want to do this, there's a lot of static, so all this plastic will end up sticking to your face shield. So what you do is you wipe it down with the those dryer sheets you put in the dryer. You wipe it after it's done, after you use it. You don't want to use them before because then it'll be greasy and you're going to make a mess. But the used dryer sheets, you wipe off your mesh, keep a couple in your pocket, and every now and then you want to clean it, you just wipe it off, and that gets rid of all that static clean. And it works nice. I learned that at the club in Hartford. And the guy who was actually doing this, you know, the woman in the back mentioned, I said, what? And so it does work.
Who was asking about cutting the Corian table saw?
Yeah, the tables.
That's also one of the problems with cutting the table saw is that it sticks.
Right.
So you just have to be aware of that when you wait. It's not like sawdust where you can just blow it off and it's easy, it sticks.
Sticks in the
So you
table
have,
saw.
you have to really wipe the brush.
Everywhere it's got a surface.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's just static, it's not glue.
Yeah, it's not going to be
But
like
it
glue.
doesn't just blow off, you have to really wipe it off.
You keep your vacuum clean handy. You just keep vacuuming to keep that. Okay, this is just regular steel. Cleans up close. And what I will do is what I've been, is I will wind up cutting like this. Wood, you always cut with the bevel. But this one here, I'll lift this up and probably just catch the edge. Because it's not going to grab. You know, and then some of that stuff is so hard that, you know, I gotta, you know, play around, find out what's going to cut, what's not. And sometimes I'll just lift it up and find out that I can catch that edge and it's sharp enough that it'll actually cut, but it won't grab. And then the next step is then I'll go on the inside.
It sounds like a challenge. I could get it to grab.
Okay.
Have faith. That's my specialty.
The master grabber.
Catches our specialty here.
And what I want is this wall, I want to leave this about 3/8 of an inch thick. So my next piece is going to go on. My finished piece is just under a quarter. So by leaving it at that 3/8, that gives me enough to keep working. my center here. So now I'll be able to just go in, put that center up, and then I'll just clamp it to here. What I want to do first, at home I've got a big 24-inch disc I have on my table, and I can just, it's easier to see it if you got a big aerial. But this works just as good. And just get it cleaned up.
What grease are you using?
I finish it with 220, and I think this might be 180, I'm not really sure. The big disc that I have, I think the first disc is an 80 grit, and then I finish it off with a 180, I think it is. But, you know, I'm just scuffing it.
Is that primarily for the glue, because you're gluing it?
There's two things I'm doing. I'm making sure this surface is flat, because it's not always flat. When you sand it, if you look at it, you might see little ripples in it. So that means you didn't go far enough. So sand it some more until it just becomes like so. It will tell you that you got a little hollow in it, so you want to sand it down some more. So you might sand it 3 or 4 times until you get a nice flat surface, and then it works nicely. So then what I'll do here. Just so you know, I always wear a face mask. This here, that's always. And this is nice one. I get these from Zara. They last a while. You know, they're not throwaways. And that way you're not breathing that crap, because that's not a good thing. It's as good as breathing wood, put it that way. And wood isn't good either. If you got pencil marks, you want to make sure you get rid of the pencil marks, otherwise it'll show up after you're done turning. They just kind of have a way of finding their way. And I have my vacuum, and I take that dust out from the inside. And I also have my vacuum, my big shop back here. So whenever I do any kind of dry sanding like this, I turn that on, so you don't have all the dust floating around. And that, I think, is really pretty. But that's only at the very bottom. Everything drops to the bottom. And the roof, you know, once I turn it, you won't see it. Does everybody know what micro mesh sandpaper is? Does anybody? No? I finish it with this piece here. This is 12,000. It almost feels like nothing. Yeah. And that's what gives it that nice.
Here's a brown paper bag.
Yeah. But this is all done with wet sanding. I wet sand it all. And that way I don't have all the stuff. And the last, after I'm done with 12,000, then I take the paper towel and burnish it with that, and that brings it up that nice shine. It's just, crank it up full speed and just hit it, and it cleans it up pretty good.
Why don't you leave your gloves on?
Well, when I'm at home, it's easier not to have them because I can do other stuff instead of just going back and forth. Plus, my hands get all wet inside, and it's yucky, and I don't like the feel of having rubber gloves on my hands, so it's easy for me. So I think we should be good to go here. Here's, twist. Tight. What's that? Do that excess glue.
It's toxic.
What I should have done, and I did not do it, I should have measured that wall thickness, and I know it's about so thick, so, and then and I'll show you what I ended up doing, but I normally do that. It's so much easier. Well, I don't have to have people ask me why I don't leave my rubber gloves on. What I will do next is I'm going to clean up that outside surface, and then we'll measure and try to figure out where that wall is so I can go back in and use a potting tool and show you how I do that. And I've got, you know, my big bowl gouge, swept back. I've got a smaller bowl gouge that's more traditional, not swept back. And then I use this little 3/8, which is a detailed gouge. I'll use that here. And then I also use this, my carver tool. You know, so you go any way you want. I like this here because it gives me that nice round radius. When I'm trying to finish in here, I can go in here with a nice round radius. And that also can go to the bottom of my bowl and clean that out. It comes out nice and round. this isn't wood, so you can go in either direction. You know, so back and forth doesn't matter. And I want to do the same thing, and that's get back down close to my seam. And then I'll bring this, you know, just get rid of this here, and then I'll go back in and get rid of that middle.
When you sand it, do you?
What's that?
When you're sanding it, do you get it hot enough to melt it? I mean, you have to be careful of that.
I'm wet sanding.
All your sanding is wet sanding?
Yes.
Even a rough sanding?
Maybe the initial one, I might use a 60-80 grit, and that's just a,
Yeah.
and then, but, you know, I'm not going that fast then, and then I'm just trying to get rid of the holidays and crap. And then I go right to wet sanding. And this, the sandpaper I use is that 3M. I think it's 3M that
Like
makes
what,
it.
automotive type?
No. Yeah, it is 3M. Plastic bag. You know, this is 100, it goes up to 350.
Yeah, I've got some of that.
Yeah, it works really nice. You
Yeah.
keep dipping it in and you don't have to
Very
worry.
flexible.
Yeah. It works good for dry over. Okay, that's what this is what I'm after here. So I'm laying this up to wind up with this shape. So I'm gonna let that go for now. Next thing is to go back inside. Figure out. Had about a half-inch of wall thickness. About a half-inch. I go in there at least an inch. I have all kinds of lights in my shop. I can't see my pencil line right now. At least an inch. I'm pretty sure that's about that. Now with the potting tool, I always go in at this angle, which means my outside is always going to be bigger than my inside. If I go the other way, the outside's smaller, and you'll never get the piece out. So you always want to make sure you go in that direction.
Experience.
You want to go in straight and then bring it off to an angle. If you go in an angle, it's just going to walk across on you. You want to come out and then go back in, open up that hole a little bit, so this thing isn't rubbing real tight. And if you're listening, you'll hear it just before it breaks through. And then you can slow down and the other thing I'm learning how to do is all this stuff is great for filling in wood.
For coloring, mix this in with epoxy, and then you got a hole or something. Depending on what color you're using, like that dark black, that comes out nice and dark. This will be a nice brown color. And then some of those are greens, and I've got some that are pure reds and whites, and you just mix them in with epoxy, and it's really becomes like powder. So it mixes up nice, and it fills in any kind of little hole you got, or if you want, you can fill in a really big hole. I wanted to bring a sample down, and I glued it up, and the epoxy takes 24 hours, so you would have to wait till tomorrow. Sorry. So
We'll come back.
we'll get rid of this, and if you want, I'm just off by a little bit. So which is good, that's what we're trying for. In fact, I don't think I would have been that close if I measured it. So that was good. And this is, I'm going to save this, and this will be the base of another bowl. And then the little scrap pieces, whenever, maybe one day I might become a pen maker, those little pieces, you just glue all them up and do the same thing and spin them, and then you get nice pen barrels. Now what I want to do.
Is chlorine similar to acrylic?
What's that?
Is chlorine similar to acrylic?
That's what it is.
It is.
Yeah, it's acrylic plastic, yeah. And what I want to do now is I want to bring that down to that wall thickness. If I go in there now with my bowl gouge, it'll catch this sharp edge, and it's plastic, and it'll stop breaking. You'll hear it. It doesn't wreck it, but it's unnerving. So what I'll do now is I'll go in with this guy here. Long strands. This white stuff you only get a little, you get sawdust, that's all you get, because it's chipping out all the time. But this is really nice, and that's what they say, Corian is the best one to turn. The others, there's no telling. It'll all turn and it'll all glue, you can still make something nice out of it, just a little bit more work to do it. But making these nice little streamers is actually fun. No, but that's even, so it's nice and flat there. My next would be to throw the last one on. So I do the same steps. I'd sand this down, sand the other piece down and glue that up. And then cut it out and finish it that way. And then I start sanding it with dry paper, then I'll go to wet paper and sand it all up. What I'll do is I'll show you what I do in the back here. Because the material, I know is 1/2 inch thick, so I know where the bottom of my bowl is. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come here and I'm going to start going beyond that line. So this line becomes part of my bowl. And then I'm going to probably go about 1/8 of an inch beyond that. That's how I wind up with this here. So actually this piece is probably over here. You know, so I go down and then I can go deep into that solid piece and wind up with that, and then actually put a nice little radius here. I wind up with that. And then I do that with that decal dodger that I have. Before I start using that, we're going to use this a little bit more. The reset button is right.
I didn't
Still.
So now that edge is beyond that, and my rig would be right about so. And so I can keep, if I want, I can keep going deeper into my solid piece of block. I just want to remember that at the end, I want something to clean out my base. And that is pretty much how it's done.
See, what's in that 212,000?
What I'll do, you know, after I get the, you know, when I glue the other piece on, and this piece is, this one here is actually going to be, when that's glued on, it's fairly wide, and that gives me that nice flare. You know, so I'm not going to do that tonight. I'm just going to show you how it's done. You know, so that'll be glued here, and then I get that nice flare. So it'll be from here down, and then I'll, as I cut this out, and then I'll start cleaning it up. And I'm using this guy here, which is nice. You know, I'll set this at about 3/8 of an inch. So what I'll try to do is finish this off at around 3/8 of an inch, and then I'll bring this down to 1/4 of an inch, and then I'll make sure that I can walk through that with 1/4 of an inch, and with a little bit of slop. So I might have a 32nd of slop. As long as I keep the same amount of slop down, I've got the same wall thickness throughout, and which is just shy of 1/4. I'm told you can go down to about 1/8 of an inch wall thickness, but I kind of like that thickness that I wind up with that, and that's shy of, that's not quite 1/4, you know, so it's a 32nd under 1/4, thereabout, something like that, I'm not really sure. But, so that's how Corian is done. And you can glue it up any way you want, you can do anything you want with it, and it doesn't matter if you glue it, you know, you can glue it this way, you can glue it this way, you know, there's no top, bottom, it's all the same. And the color is going to match always the same, which is nice, you know, as compared to trying to match up a piece of wood or something that's different than trying to make it right. And then once you start sanding it, you can see that, you know, I didn't even sand this yet, but that's, seam is almost gone right now. It's not so stopping me, so that might help it. But that's pretty much close to going. So, and I also use, I'll use the calipers like this too, just to, you know, to work my way, just to try to find and make sure that my wall thickness is all the same. But I find this one here is the one that, for the small stuff, you know, I'll set this at around 3/8, and that way my wall thickness is the same, and then I can clean it up, and it's not like wood. Like if I'm trying to make a wood bowl, and I'm on the outside here, and I take it down to 1/4 inch, and then I try to come back to it later on, it's not gonna work because it's gonna be already warped. But this one here, I can bring it down to 1/4 of an inch and say, oh, I want it thinner. You can take another 1/16 of an inch off and it's not gonna be warped here. And it won't warp. And the other thing that's nice about this is you can go and have a cup of tea or coffee or whatever it is you like to drink. But you can take a break and not have to, cover it up with plastic and hope it doesn't crack before you get back. So there's a couple neat things about it. A couple drawbacks is this. But the other thing I like about it is that I'm not generating, this is all my waste. If I were doing a bowl, I'd have a whole lot of waste. And that's the other thing I like about it, because when I cut the plug out of this, I'm not going to throw it away. I'm going to save it. This becomes another bowl. And so there's good things back in this. Any questions?
Kind of like a variation of a bowl from a board. Yeah.
Yes, it's basically the same thing, almost.
Yeah.
Because I've done the bowl from a board, and you usually do that in 2 halves, and then glue them up, and then send them through the planer.
Yeah.
So these are little odds and ends you got to do to make that happen.
This is
But you can never get, you'll never get rid of the seam though. The seam is always there. And I'm not sure if you can turn these on the bandsaw, cut them out on the bandsaw, and then stack them. But even if you do, you're just going to have that cone shape.
Yeah.
I like, anything. I can do anything. It's just a matter of changing the shapes. And then figuring out that, okay, if I make this like so, then I'm going to have a nice sweep. I'm going to have that nice shape to it. It works out pretty nice.
So you really need to know what your bowl's gonna look like almost before you start. As you glue the pieces up.
Yeah.
You almost
Well-
need to know the shape that you're.
Well, just so you know, even with wood, you should have an idea what it is.
I just got cut and said, oh yeah, it's not happening.
Well, what I've done, because I've never done segmented, I did one bowl from a board, and I really like doing that. I'd rather just hog out a big hunk of wood. But this stuff here, I started using graph paper. This is a 1/2 inch, and the graph paper that I have is 2 blocks, is one of these. And then I can figure out, what my dimension is. That's why I know this is that size, and a little bit over. So when I turn it down, I'm gonna have that dimension. And,
Draw it out, so you've already.
I kind of like draw it out on my graph paper, and then I put my widest dimensions down, not this inside. So this one doesn't matter, I need this one up here. Same as this here, this is my widest over here. And it's what I end up doing, as I step them out, I always measure the widest, and then worry about cleaning up the crack in the back. And then the inside, once it's glued, it's just a matter of cleaning it up. And then figure out, once it's all glued, and it's kind of like almost all clean, and then you can form.
So when you're done now, you're just gonna part that off to get it off.
Yes, when it's all done, it's all polished, I sand it down, wet sand, it's all done. Then I just take that potting tool, and I'll set the potting tool up, and then I just come into my piece of wood, and just clean up my wood. And because I didn't glue that whole block, I only gotta go in about 1 inch.
That's why you left that
That's-
hollow.
Yeah, so you're not going all the way through. And then what you really want to do is come across here and run your potting tool, because you don't want this dancing on the floor. It is brittle, so it will break, and so if it takes this actually went for a ride on me. This thing comes flying off, because I had it, all the pieces glued on the glue block, but the glue block was an end grain, and it was really porous, and I didn't take that into account. So when I put the CA glue on the piece of wood, and then what I did was it got sucked into the wood, and there wasn't a whole lot of glue holding this thing on. And so, but it was enough, but I kept using my live center, but now I'm doing the inside of it, and it's nothing like seeing a hot like this come flying at it. The whole thing, it came, it landed on the bed, it landed on the floor, cement floor, and I only got a couple little cracks, so it didn't blow the whole thing apart. You know, but if you take this right now, if I drop that flat down on a piece of cement, it will crack and break. So, you know, there are different areas where it will
So
break.
if you have that bowl in the house and drop it off the counter on a hardwood, like a tile floor, they're gonna crack the bowl? Or is it just
Well, treat it like glass.
almost like glass?
Yeah, treat it like glass. Will it break? Maybe, maybe not, I'm not sure.
Find out.
But there's no need, you know, and if you got a nice wooden bowl and you drop it on the floor, depending on how you drop it, you're gonna crack it. You know, unless it's a new guy turned it and he left it an inch thick.
I thought 2 inches was the rule of thumb.
Why doesn't it come in thicker?
Why doesn't it
It
come
only
in?
comes in half-inch, thick.
No, it comes in 3/4 too.
Oh, it does?
But the cabinet, where I get it from the cabinet shops, they don't want it to be thicker, because they only need a 1/2 inch.
Yeah.
And they put it on a piece of MDF board, so they wind up with an inch, inch and a quarter thick deck. And what they wind up doing is they'll take and glue a little trim around here and then round that whole thing off so it looks like you got a nice 1 inch
Yeah.
piece, is what they end up doing. Okay?
Very good.